time to get through this morning, I think, is the pendulum principle of action. Pendulum principle of action. A professor was one time explaining to his class something called the law of the pendulum. And he said, class, the law of the pendulum states that once any pendulum is released, it cannot return to a point higher than which it was released. And he said, do you understand this law? And they all said yes. And he said, well, do you believe it? And they all said yes. He then pulled from his pocket a small but perfect pendulum. He pulled the pendulum back, he let it go, and he said, class, the law of the pendulum states that once any pendulum is released, it cannot return to a point higher than which it was released. And he said, do you understand this law? And they all said yes. He said, well, do you believe it? And they all said yes. There was this one particularly arrogant student who was kind of up towards the front of the room who blurted out, well, duh, it's kind of obvious. So the professor invited the arrogant student to come up to the front of the classroom, and the arrogant student agreed. On this side of the classroom was a desk with a chair on top of it. And the professor invited the arrogant student to come up and get into the chair, and the arrogant student did. Then the professor walked over to the middle of the classroom, pulled back a large curtain, and suspended from the ceiling was an iron cable. At the bottom of it were 3 45-pound weights. The professor had constructed a very large and perfect pendulum in the classroom. The professor then grabbed the pendulum, and he slowly walked it right up to where it was touching the tip of this arrogant student's nose. And he said, the law of the pendulum states that once any pendulum is released, it cannot return to a point higher than which it was released. And he said, do you understand this law? And the arrogant student said, yes. The professor asked him, do you believe it? Just then the professor let the pendulum go. It swung across the room, starting to return. Now pause it right here. What do you think that arrogant student did? That's right, I got out of that chair as fast as I could. The pendulum swung back, didn't hit the wall. You see, on this day, the professor wasn't teaching the class about the law of the pendulum. He was teaching the class a different law, the law of action. And the law of action says it does not matter what you say you believe. Our real beliefs are revealed by how we act. We can lie with our words, but we cannot lie with our actions. Our actions determine what we are known for as a leader. My pastor always tells me, he says, Rory, if you want to know what somebody really believes, you don't even have to waste time asking them. All you have to do is look at their calendar and their checkbook. Because what they spend their time and their money on is what they really believe in the most. It is our actions that become the defining characteristics of us as a leader. Action is the difference between the people who get what they want and the people who don't. The people who take action are the ones that take advantage of opportunity versus the people who are left back for waiting for life to just come to it as it is handed to them. Action is the key difference. And yet, most people don't take action. If action is this defining characteristic, it makes me wonder, I said, why don't we take action? How come it is that we see an opportunity in front of us, we know what is the right choice, we know what is the good thing to do, and yet we don't do it? We procrastinate, we put it off. We put off the things that we know we should do. Is it just because we don't care about success? Is it because we don't care about being good role models? Is it because we don't care about the responsibility of us as a leader? We don't care about creating a better life for our family and our kids and for the people around us? I've thought a lot about that question, and I can honestly say now that I firmly believe the answer is no, that's not why we don't take action. In fact, for most of us leaders, it's almost exactly the opposite. The reason that most of us don't take action is not because we don't care. It's actually because we do care. In fact, we care so much that we just want to make sure that we don't fail this time. We want to make sure that we do a great job as a leader. And we want to make sure that we make the right decisions and the right calls and we take the right action plans. And so before we make those decisions and take those actions, we just want to make sure that it is the perfect time. That it is the perfect set of circumstances. that we have just the right amount of money, that we have just the right amount of support, that we have just the right people agreeing with us. And we just want to make sure that everything is set up perfectly so that we make decisions and take action that don't fail. Because I don't want to mess this one up. And we wait for a perfect time, and we keep waiting and we wait and we wait, and it never comes. And the moment that each moment that passes by, that we wait to take action, the likelihood that we ever will decreases exponentially. Because we start to lose to something that I refer to as the law of diminishing intent. And the law of diminishing intent is a simple concept. It just says that our intention to take action is highest the moment that we create that intention. But then naturally over time, that intention slowly starts to fade. The classic example of this, by the way, is the New Year's resolution. If you go to the gym on January 5th at 5:30 p.m., what do you notice about the gym? It's full. It's crazy. It's packed. There's people everywhere. You have to wait online to get in. You can wait in a line to get on the treadmill. The block room is packed. The worst part is you got to drive around the parking lot for 30 minutes just to get a close parking space to walk. And yet, if you go to that same gym on March 5th, what do you notice about the gym then? Totally empty, right? It's like, what happened? People are missing. There's no explanation. It's like the rapture occurred. The treadmills are running. Nobody's on them. What happened? Well, that is the law of diminishing intent at its finest. And that is this. And so most people don't take that action. They don't follow through. They don't keep it going. And why is it then that more people don't take action? We already talked about it. How then do you get people to take action? How is it that we create action? How do we overcome that procrastination? Really simple. You cultivate the habit of action in your lives and in your teams by demanding progress. We get ruthless, relentless, and uncompromising about the idea that today, on this day, we will make progress. We might not go far, but we will not go backwards, and we will not stand still. I promise you, we will absolutely make some forward progress today. And, at the same time, you completely free yourself and those around you of the demand for perfection. The number one cause of all procrastination, psychologists say, self-criticism. It's thinking that I could never do it, this would never work, there's no way people would allow us to pull this off. And we lose the battles as leaders in our head before we even give it a chance out in the world. And living in the escalator world that we do, most people will never even notice that you didn't take action. And if they do notice, chances are they won't say anything. Chances are they won't hold you accountable. Chances are you notice people that aren't taking the right actions, and it's hard to hold them accountable. Why? Because we fear conflict. Because it's difficult to face conflict. It's another example of the storm, right? And in the escalator world, it's kind of what everybody's doing. So it's really weird to do anything else. And I want to say this. I have wondered from time to time if I'm overdoing the whole escalator mentality metaphor. And, I'm wondering if it's as pervasive as I'm making it out to be. And one of my friends gave me this idea a while back. They said, what you should do, Rory, is as you're traveling around, is you should take pictures everywhere you go as sort of this informal research project of the world that we live in. And so I just wanted to share a couple of my recent pictures with you. This first picture is actually from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Stairs are here on the right. Notice the line of people waiting for the escalator. Here's another one, not too long ago. This one is from Chicago, Illinois. Stairs on the left, escalator on the right. We can't take the stairs down? Really? And then there's this one, and you know what? This one is just wrong. How many did we pay? 6 steps. 6 of them. Seriously. And then you know what? I love this one.